so many people, the coronavirus vaccine represents hope that things will one day return to normal.
For one Sharon woman, it means what happened to her husband won't happen to her. And she tells me that means she can keep doing what she loves most, helping babies. Barbara and Lester Wax knew how to build things. Together, they built a beautiful life. In the garage, Lester built beautiful cars.
And I can tell you I have a basement full of parts that I don't know what to do with.
Lester's first baby was this 1931 LaSalle. He turned it from a bucket of bolts to a museum piece.
Our first date was in the car, was in the 31 LaSalle.
Barbara and Lester were married for 42 years, had 2 sons and 3 grandkids.
Miss my husband terribly.
Last spring, Lester had a fall, went to rehab, and got sick.
It was there that he apparently contracted COVID.
After a 5-week battle, Lester died at age 74.
It was awful. You know, we couldn't have the usual funeral. It was limited numbers at the cemetery. It's sad. It's lonely.
Sad and lonely and badly in need of a distraction, Barbara decided to come right back to work at the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, where she's a midwife. In the middle of a pandemic, and after losing her husband, she wasn't thinking about catching COVID. She was thinking about catching something else. You told me you had a term for what you do for a living. It's catching
babies.
Catching babies.
That's what all of us midwives say. Barbara,
heartbroken, needed some of this in her life. Smiling moms and babies.
I would not be in as good a shape right now after the loss if I hadn't had the opportunity to continue working and still catch those babies and still provide prenatal care.
Barbara has helped Nicole Stallworth with all 3 of her babies, but during her recent pregnancy, Nicole had no idea of Barbara's loss. Barbara didn't tell anyone.
Not surprised, because she's a fighter, she's a kicker. She just keeps, she keeps on moving, and I'm just not surprised at that at all.
Some of Barbara's patients were COVID positive, so the risk has been real.
When my son was with me for Shiva, one of the things he said to me was, "Mom, you have to be careful. I don't want to lose 2 parents in a short period of time."
But Barbara was the very first worker at her health center to get the COVID vaccine. What did it mean to you to get that vaccine?
It was wonderful. Relieving. There's a lot less fear now that I've been vaccinated.
Without Lester, life may not have the same shine as that restored 31 LaSalle. But Barbara will keep going, restoring her life.
They're keeping me going. They're keeping me happy.
And there's another birth that's keeping her spirits up. Barbara has a 4th grandchild on the way. She tells me she's growing tired of FaceTime and Zoom and is hoping that the vaccine brings some hugs back into her life. She could use a few hugs, Lisa.
Yeah, and nobody deserves them more than she does. The world is better because Barbara is catching babies for sure.